God is very much testing me today about this podcast to see how bad I want to release one. And I do. So here I am. The dog just came in, as you can see right there. Okay. So, um, where do I begin? It's been a while since I've recorded, and I kind of apologize for that. If you're somebody who likes to listen to my podcast, I still feel like nobody listens to it, even though I have data to show that that's total bullshit. I still feel like, why would anybody want to listen to this podcast? But the last one I did was when I got back from Tulum, Mexico, and quite a lot has happened since then. I don't remember what I said on that last podcast. If you want to go listen to it, feel free. It'll be the one right before this. But there's a lot going on, and I'm really trying to figure out what I'd like to do. And I know I say this shit a lot, and I apologize. I'm a woman. I'm connected to my feminine. I'm hard to pin down, and get me to stick to one thing right now is really challenging. Plus, the perimenopause does not help. Um, but I'm starting to feel some type of calling in sharing what I'm learning through this chapter. And so maybe I'll just do a little quick catch up if that's interesting to you. I mean, I don't know if it is, but if it is, great. And then maybe I'll talk a little bit about a couple subjects that I think are important to touch on. So this might be sort of like a self-coaching podcast episode where, take, as always, take what you need from it, but I don't profess or pretend to have the answers to all of it, any of it, maybe a couple things. But what I'm noticing is there's a need for support in the community of women that are going through divorce, they're going through perimenopause, most likely, or in a high percentage at the same time. And so I feel like, there needs to be more conversation around it, and I'm happy to be the guinea pig of that conversation and figure out, what works, what doesn't, because there's a lot of stuff goes on. So, quick update: I'm in my new place. I have been here since the 26th of April, and the move went smoothly. I had lots of help from my ex-husband and the kids, and one kid actually. And so it was a smooth transition logistically. Everything that needed to get delivered got delivered. Anything new that I purchased got here fine. Everything's great. Furniture's been put together. My youngest daughter really, really helped. She's such an incredible source of support when it comes to that kind of stuff. She's a little young to be emotionally supportive, so what she isn't comfortable doing on that level, she more than makes up for with putting furniture together and moving and unpacking and things like that with me. So she's just incredible. And then my older daughters weren't, available, unfortunately, for like a lot of the physical stuff, but emotionally very supportive. And so it needs to be said that, I've got a strong group of kids around me, definitely, and some really incredible friends. You know who you are. Um, so here I am, 3 weeks and a couple days out of moving from my home. And the first couple weeks were absolutely fucking brutal. A lot of tears, a lot of just a sense of like, now what? I've been fighting to get out of that marriage for a long time, and really fighting to get out of that house for a year at least. And so once I got here, I was like, my nervous system was like, "Hey, well, what's the next fight?" And I'm trying to tell it like, "There's no fighting. We're gonna chill the fuck out." And so that was that was my first 2 weeks. And it's so funny. We had our grandson's first birthday on Sunday. The party was at my ex's, and my father-in-law came, and he goes, "You look much better. You were looking pretty rough. I see you on Facebook in the mornings. You were looking pretty rough." And I was like, "Thanks, Dad. Appreciate you." But he's right. I was looking and feeling like shit, and really in my fear about everything, really in my sadness about it. And here's the thing, and maybe this is something you want to write down, or maybe this is something you want to contemplate, or, I always say, like, journal prompts are really good, right? You want to get some shit out of your system, but it's hard to start sometimes. So for me, it was like, I would get upset, but then I would stop and I'd say, like, what am I getting actually upset about here? Right? Like, what am I actually crying about? What am I actually feel sick to my stomach about? Because I know the reality of the relationship. So why am I sitting here really just sobbing and, like, really just sitting in it? What's the purpose of that? Now, I will be the first to say that you absolutely should feel your feelings, and I think it's so detrimental when people do not do that. Men have a very hard time with this piece of a divorce. So, sorry, my middle is just FaceTiming me. So guys have a really hard time with this piece. You know, I'm just telling her I'm on a call so she doesn't freak out. But, like, sitting, when you're sitting in it and you're feeling the feelings, there's so part of what I'm saying is, like, I advocate for definitely feeling that. But then also, what I was doing wasn't necessarily just organically feeling it. I was sad about what could have been, what isn't going to be, all of those things, rather than the reality. The reality is the marriage was fucking awful. 10 out of 10, terrible. Okay. And, I'm going to be as respectful as necessary to him, but I'm going to speak truth about my experience in the marriage. And maybe he'll do that someday too. I don't know. But what I do know is the marriage was shit. Okay. And and for those of you who don't know, I was married to a guy for 26 years who is neurodivergent. Used to be called Asperger's, now it's divergent, but he has Asperger's. No, I didn't know when I first got together with him. I did, however, there was a red flag and I literally ignored it. And even back then in my 20s, I worked with developmentally disabled adults. I knew what autism was. But because I worked with severely autistic people, I guess I didn't know there was a spectrum to it. And I guess I didn't know that, I didn't know Asperger's was a thing until about 15 years ago. Or 10 years ago, whenever he got kind of diagnosed and we figured out this is what it is. So no, I didn't know, but I kind of knew, right? Like, there was a red flag. And the first time I talked to him, I said, man, you're an asshole. And I was being flirtatious and we were kind of, going back and forth. But I was, there it was. Like, there it was. The first fucking time I talked to him, I knew something didn't sit with me and I ignored it. And then, here I am 26 years later divorcing him. So I am going to be respectful of certain parts, but I'm also going to be honest. And one of the things that I want to honestly talk about is that the masculine and the feminine energy and how that plays into this, because, like, really that's the whole purpose of this entire platform I've created and all of the episodes. Yes, I've talked about marketing. Yes, I've talked about business. But at the end of the day, it's still a masculine and feminine energy conversation, because that's the yin and the yang of all of creation. And so what I'm hearing from men, right, in particular, my hair is really bugging me today, just FYI. If you notice, I'm playing with it. Carrie Marshall, my best friend, she'll not complain, but she'll say something. Anyway, but, like, what I'm noticing is that there's a lot of blame being placed on the woman. And maybe that's just the type of people that I know, but there's a lot of she's crazy. There's a lot of it was her fault. There was a lot of she didn't want to be intimate, all these things. And although I'm not discrediting that, I think there's something to be said for, now, again, I'm not speaking specifics on specific people because I don't know their situation deeply. I'll speak to my own situation, and maybe you can relate, and maybe this is something that will resonate for you. I didn't come to my marriage that way. So what would Ken say about me today? He would say I'm a bitch. He would say definitely I'm a see you next Tuesday. He throws that word around quite liberally these days. He would say that I just don't want to get along with him. He would say that I'm just going to be unhappy. He would say I can be belligerent. He would say that maybe he would say I let my body go. He's made those comments in the past, not too distant past, in a different way. And I won't repeat what he said, but he did say it. He might say that I expect too much. He might say that my standards are too high. He may say all of those things. And I would say back to him, and I didn't come to you that way. I came to you as a single mom, definitely in her masculine, working full time, had an apartment, a car, fed my child, paid my rent, did all those things, had some debt, because what did I know at 23? But I definitely didn't come to the relationship this hardened asshole and this hardened bitch. And around him, I am repulsive. And I don't say that lightly. I am an asshole. Like the second I am in his energy field, close enough, I turn into such a prick. And that's self-defense. Like that's a defense mechanism now because I don't know what's going to come out of his mouth. I don't know. And I don't know what he's going to say or not say. And I turn into an asshole. And then there's almost no possibility of getting along with him these days anymore. And I don't think that there ever will be. We can be civil, but that's probably the best I'm going to do. And I'm talking about myself at this stage. I'm not talking about what he's prepared to. It's not my business. My business is, there's my business, there's your business, and then there's God's business. And if I'm in my business, I can tell you right now, being around him, really, and you guys know I hate this word, but it triggers me. It turns me into this really ugly version of myself. Why? And again, I'm not advocating complain and bitch about your relationships and do nothing about them. There's nothing you can do with somebody with Asperger's. It's just a fact. Like I would say Ken has worked his butt off in certain aspects of his life and he's come a long way in certain aspects of his life. In a relationship, he's done fuck all, nothing, zero. And I said that to him the other day. We started to get into a bit of a and then we just kind of both snapped out of it. But he's done nothing, I would say zero, in relation to our marriage to improve it. And that's the trick with people with Asperger's is like neurodivergency, whatever you want to call it. It's like they have tunnel vision, right? So they cannot focus on more than one or two major things in their life because they're just so ultra focused. And so he's never been ultra focused on our marriage. That's a fact. He's been ultra focused on the kids, which I would, if I had to pick, I would say pick the kids over me at this stage, or business. And that's seems to be what he's focused on now. But I didn't come to the relationship this way. I didn't come to the relationship this bitchy, mean, angry, resentful woman. And maybe you didn't either. And so I'm not giving full license to women to be assholes. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying notice how your woman and how you as a woman came to a relationship and then see what's there. And oftentimes you'll hear men talking about, like male coaches talking about, and female coaches too, talking about however your wife or spouse or girlfriend is a direct reflection to how the energy from her man, right? So if I'm closed off, he's probably closed off. If I'm feeling insecure, he might be feeling like it's a mirror always, and so now sidebar, there's some women who just have not done the healing and not done the work, and they perpetually think the grass is greener on the other side no matter how great you are. I'm not saying that those women don't exist, they do. But I'm talking about, the ones that are in a marriage who are fighting for a marriage and there's no fight back with you. You're in the fight alone. That was my marriage. I was in the fight alone. And so why am I sitting here on, whatever day zero of moving out and feeling sad about it? I really didn't have a need to. What I was feeling sad about was my story about the whole thing, right? My story about what it could have been or what it should have been. I mean, being apart from the family dynamic, definitely hard. I miss my grandson and my daughter a lot. So that's a big, that's a big one. But I've seen Noah multiple times. I've just drove coffee over there this morning. Like there's, we're good. I'm seeing him plenty. So I just, for me, it was like trying to fit a square into a circle, and the circle had no desire to fit. And so years of that, years and years and years of that, not understanding and trying to figure it out, and going to Tony Robbins and doing Byron Katie and doing Joe Dispenza and doing even stuff together, building our business together and doing all this shit. And it just felt so incredibly futile. Like I felt so much like I had poured so much into this fucking conversation. It's all I thought about. How do I make this a happy place? How do I make it so he notices me? How do I make it so he wants me? How do I make it so we have more sex? Again, something I've never talked about, but if you're with somebody with Asperger's, sex is not a consideration. They are predominantly asexual, and or maybe not even asexual, but the preference is no intimacy because it's a ton of work, and they just don't want to do that kind of work because it's hard for them. So you're left with an average of like 5 times a year, maybe 10 times a year, and it's like pulling teeth. And so what do you think that does to a woman? What do you think that actually does to a woman? I'll tell you what it does to a woman. It makes her keep weight on, because at least if I'm fat, I don't have to worry about why I'm being rejected. It destroys your self-confidence. Absolutely fucking destroys it. It pisses you off, makes you very angry. It is a gut-wrenching, absolutely logic-defying, heartbreaking thing to sit through. You're married to this guy who you think is one of the hottest men you've ever known, and I did forever. I still think he's super handsome. Like when I look at him, if he's not talking, I'm like, yeah, that's a hot guy. However, I sat there like that for 25 years. Actually, I did the math the other day. We've actually known each other for 28 years now. It's crazy. But so for 27 years, we'll call it, maybe 25 before we had kids. Anytime I tried to sleep with him, it was either like a half-assed okay or no. I got no a lot. Or just I would get frustrated because there would be no reciprocity, and I would just be like, well, I guess I'm not doing that. Like there's a point where you're, as a woman, you're like, well, I'm not, like, I don't need the mercy, excuse my language, but I don't need a mercy fuck here. Like I'm not going to do that. And so for the whole time we were married, that was the sex life. Lackluster, if it happened at all. Felt like it was a chore for him and not me. And I would argue never once did he initiate sex. Not once. And it really has altered my neuropathways for sure, and my subconscious belief system, which pops up, so I'm aware. So it's not quite as subconscious anymore, but it really did a number on me. And so now I'm sitting there day zero going, what am I upset about? Like, the guy's told you he doesn't want to have sex with you. The guy doesn't want to be your husband. The guy doesn't want to participate in making this a stronger marriage or a non-toxic marriage. And why are you upset? Because the story that you had, excuse me. And so as I worked through those first couple of days, they were tough. I started to come out of it, and then another week would go by, and then Amelia went back to his place, and I was like, okay, so now you're gonna chill and figure this out. And then she came home, and it was a great week, and then she's gone back. And so here I am at my third week, and I'm happier than I have been in so long. Now, caveat to that is I would not say that I'm happiest I've been, but I'm happier than I've been in a long time. I'm calmer than I've been in a long time. And now there's other shit that's coming up. So, that's the beautiful thing about self development and personal development and all those things. But am I sad about the marriage anymore? Nope. And there's like a school of people that will say, well, you need to like heal, and I don't disagree with that at all. I think there's a lot of people who rush through the healing and then they bounce into other relationships, or they're sleeping with other people, and they're chatting and they're on apps and they're doing all this stuff. Very few people can just sit with themselves. And so I've made it a very deep commitment to myself to do just that, is just to sit with myself, and don't go rushing out to find something. Now, a couple interesting pieces, and maybe this is something you can relate to depending on the type of marriage you've been in or have left. But like, if I was in a marriage that was largely toxic, did nothing to treat me like a feminine being whatsoever, I lost my sense of sexuality, I've lost my sense of beauty and all of those things. I'm asking you, do you think I'm rushing to go date somebody right now? Fuck no. Like, even if I was at a place, which I kind of am, where I am okay with dating, actually, like the concept, would I be ready to go rush out and find a dude? Absolutely not. Why? Because I'm terrified of being rejected again. And so I also don't believe I'm thin enough, pretty enough. Now I'm old looking to me. And these are the things that will creep up to me that actually become my limiting belief story. He took the best years of my life. I used to be hot and now I'm not. Now look at me. I'm super overweight. I'm super, like, I've got wrinkles and I'm not down to get Botox. And so I'm going to look like an old hag. And like, the stories are just fucking flying around my brain like they own it, right? And so even if I had quote unquote finished, kind of wrapped up the healing of the marriage and being okay with it, I'm still not going to go out and date because I have this whole other bag of shit I have to work on. And so, ladies, like, if that's because I think that's confusing to us, because we'll see other women who are like, I met my man 4 weeks after I left my husband and I'm the happiest I've ever been. Well, good for fucking you, lady. Like, great. But there's this other camp of women, and I think this is more realistic, who, if you've come out of a marriage that wasn't healthy and that you didn't feel celebrated and loved and cherished and all those things, and maybe it's somebody that was like more narcissistic, or maybe somebody who was an addict or something, like, if you come out of a marriage like that, you're not out, generally, I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're not out there trying to like wheel and deal guys. Like, you might be okay, I'm not opposed to the idea, but am I ready? Fuck no. And that's me right now. It's like, i'm not I'm definitely not opposed to meeting somebody. I'm lonely. And this is the other thing. I've been in a one-way marriage essentially the whole time. Okay? And I'm not being dramatic. That's literally, like, I've traveled, even when I was with him, traveled by myself all the time, took myself out, went out with my friends. He literally never came out with any group of people that I've known. Like, it was 100% of the time I would, maybe, okay, not quite 100. I don't want to be like, come at me because it's not 100, but close, alone. I was, if anybody on the outside didn't know by me saying I'm married, they wouldn't know I had a husband. And that's not a fucking joke. I'm not exaggerating. And so for me, it's not like I've been together, da 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 da, all of a sudden I've left, or he left me and I was, I've been alone the whole freaking time, basically. And so I could easily just be like, all right, now I'm ready. I'm physically by myself. Now I'm ready to go. I'm not. And so I want you to give yourself grace around that, because not everybody is gonna jump out of one bed and into the other. And I actually think that's a huge mistake anyway. But I think it's really key to say, if you're not feeling, ready, don't go do it. Don't go looking for guys that you just think, occupy the time. Because that's the biggest fucking, like, ladies, we know that's a mistake. And I'm not about to do it. But even if I was like, I want to do that, I still am so insecure that I won't do that. And so that's, I believe, where the work has to happen. And I actually, my kids, I think I've mentioned this before, they get really concerned when I talk about my chat GPT. Now, I'm not on chat GPT anymore. Pro tip, go to Claude. It's so much better. The only thing chat GPT is better at or can do are images. Like if you take a picture of your bedroom and you say adds a decor or whatever. Claude doesn't do that, but Claude's just a better machine. I just prefer it. So anyway, I was chatting with it. And again, you got to know the prompts because you get what you want to hear. And so if you're like, be straight with me, don't fuck around, or tell me the straight goods, or if Tony Robbins was here in front of me, what would he say? Blah blah blah. You have to kind of get well versed at the prompts. But I said, when I'm down 50 pounds, like I've got a goal to lose 40, 50 pounds. Like obviously it's going to be a lot of muscle but I want to lose inches. And I've got a goal to get extensions, or I've got a goal to get, higher end, non-invasive, not putting stuff in my face, skincare treatments, stuff like that. When that all happens, then I'm going to go and date. And so she comes back with like, you don't have to wait. Like basically what the fuck are you talking about? The man who is going to be attracted to you isn't going to care that you're 40 pounds overweight. It's different if I'm just sitting around not doing anything about it, but I'm actively doing something about it. She said, it's your energy and it's your this and da da da. And I'm like, okay, but the thing is, I've not been rewarded. And the feminine energy loves to be praised and loves to be rewarded. I've not been rewarded for my energy inside of my marriage. I get rewarded for my energy every other place I go, whether it's the store, whether it's a Tony event, whether I'm on an airplane, whether I'm in the airport. I get rewarded constantly outside of my marriage, but that was the person supposed to be closest to me, and he did not reward me. So I have a very fucked up version of that. But I'm starting to, I'm not, like when I say starting, I mean like 1%. I'm starting to play in that energy a little bit more again. But I still have this very, very much a story. And again, the person that I was most attracted to is the one who rejected me the hardest in this area. But I still have a story about, doesn't matter, I'm fat, I'm not cute anymore, who's going to want me? And so what, I'm emitting shitty energy when I even say those things. And the subconscious hears me. And I know all of this. This is not new information to me. But this is the work. Fuck the sadness of the marriage. Like, I'm over that. I'm not sad to not be with him at all. But now the work becomes me and undoing 25 years or 26 years of really toxic energy and really emotionally abusive energy. Like, I'm just saying how it is. Emotionally abusive 100%. Whether it's intentional or not, it still fucked me up. And so I'm not worrying. I'm not sitting here trying to fix or replicate him or trying to find somebody to fill the gap. I'm sitting here going, wow, I need to work through this stuff because there's a couple of things that I already know I'm not down to attract. I'm not down to attract any guy who thinks anything of me up on a pedestal. Now, I don't have a business anymore. I'm not that boss babe, entrepreneurial fucking psychopath anymore. So like, I have a, part-time client that I work with in, like in the US that I do work for. I'm not bawling at all. Like when I tell you I left all of it. He bought me some furniture. Great. But also kept my old furniture. So it's like one of us had to buy stuff and I'm a girl. And so he's like, yeah, you just go buy it. So I did. But I didn't take any piece of the business. I left even, his argument is, well, I bought you out. Well, you bought me out 2 years ago. We were married still for 2 more years. What are you talking about? Or maybe longer, actually. Sorry. 4 years ago. I still worked on the business, even though I technically have no part in it. So that's just a bullshit. But I just literally just took my little part-time client and I fucking left. And so I'm not trying to attract any man who's looking at me with any type of pedestal. And I've come across guys like that who are like, holy shit, wow, you did all that and you make this and you do that. And I'm like, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. I don't want you to think about me when I say I'm in my soft girl era, I'm telling you I'm in my soft girl era. I'm not interested in like teaching a man a single fucking thing. I will support a man emotionally, offer him support in that way. I will bring peace to a man. I will cook for a man. I will, get the house cleaned. Notice I'm not telling you I will clean the house. I will get the house cleaned. Like I will do all of the things that a woman is happy to do when she's in her feminine. But I'm not interested in attracting any type of guy who's gonna excuse me, think like I'm some type of badass boss babe, because I'm not anymore. And so, I mean, that's the first part of all this is like I definitely won't be attracting somebody like that. But I'm not right now in my current state. I know I've kind of gone on a few different tangents, but and hopefully some of this is helpful to you, and I hope that you're hearing things that I'm not as coachy as I've been in the past, but mostly I'm just riffing, and maybe this is just a video diary of how I'm feeling 3 weeks after I left. But I'm not interested in, the dog might bark, but maybe not. He looks pretty passed out. Oh, there he's waking up. I'm not interested in attracting more of what I've attracted in the past, which is mostly feminine energy male friends, or guys who are complaining, or guys that are like just not owning their own shit. Like I've got some men around me that are owning their shit, like platonically, but right now the work is not healing the marriage. The work is now healing Kara. And as cheesy as that may sound, it's true, because right now I'm good for nothing in terms of like a relationship. And that doesn't mean, and here's where I have to catch myself, it doesn't mean I have to be quote unquote healed and fixed, whatever the fuck that means, and then I start dating. No, I'm just saying, like, in my current state, I'm probably not going to call in. I'm not a magnet for what I want, because I'm just not a magnet for what I want yet. And that might take 2 weeks, that might take 6 months, that might take a year. I don't know. We'll see. I'm open to whatever that looks like. But I want you to understand, like, you can have these two pieces separate, because I think oftentimes you leave the marriage and you think, oh, I'm sad about the marriage. Well, actually, you're probably not. You're sad about the shit that you went through. And that's where the work needs to happen. It's not about being okay without him. It's about learning who I am and where those behaviors in the marriage actually changed who I was, and how do I change back to who I know I am. That's where I'm focused. It's not about, I don't miss him. I don't. I miss my version of him, but I don't miss him. Every time I see him, we get into a fight, or I'm a bitch. So why would I miss that? I don't. I wish him well. I mean, that's a bit of a vanity, if I'm being honest. I really don't give a shit. I wish him no harm. How about that? I don't give a shit one way or another otherwise. But I wish him no harm. He's still the father of my children. And as I try to untangle us even further, I'll probably care less and less about what he's doing. And, if he was dating somebody right now, would it upset me? 100% it would. Totally would. But not enough that I would say anything or do anything about it, because I'm just, what do you do? So here I am, we're into like second week of May now. I'm just looking at my clock or my calendar. Second week of May, feeling a lot stronger with all of that, but still not, still have a lot to work through. And how am I working through that? Well, this podcast is one. Just saying it out loud is helpful. Two, I'm going to start journaling more again. I go through those phases where journaling is really helpful, and then sometimes I'm like, meh, I don't want to do it. Sitting with Jesus. That's the first time I've ever said it, and Um, Last night I had a really interesting, I don't know what you'd even call it. I was just sitting there. And like, to be clear, I'm not a Christian. I do believe Jesus was a man. I do believe he believed he died for our sins. And that's kind of where my story stops for now. Because that, for me, is enough to chew on for a long time. And what do I mean by that? I mean, for somebody to love humanity that much, to believe that he had to sacrifice himself for us, is extremely humbling. And that's like where I've been swimming the last little while. And last night I really, because I was feeling lonely and I was feeling sad because I'm by myself and in this place and I'm just, feeling my feels. And I pictured Jesus with his arms around me. And it was beautiful. And my ego went away. And I just cry and I say, Jesus, help me. And I could feel some type of presence, which I've never felt before. And it was really beautiful. And so I don't even know what that means. I mean, that's part of the healing, is like discovering, that side of myself. Because again, being with somebody with Asperger's, they don't believe in anything higher than themselves. They really just don't. And that's hard for me because as a woman, that doesn't feel safe. It doesn't feel safe when your husband is like, doesn't have any, there's no hierarchy. And so now I'm building and coming to this relationship with Jesus, and so I'm just kind of in that zone right now. And so I'm praying a lot more. So journaling, this podcast, praying, these are some of the ways that I'm healing myself through losing myself at the start of this whole relationship. And I think that's really the key is we all have different iterations of ourselves throughout our lives. Obviously, we have mom version, we have teenage version, we have, perimenopause version. We're a fucking ball of laughs, definitely. And so when you're in the season and you're thinking like, holy fuck, I don't know who I am, it's okay. None of us do. You ask any woman at this stage of life, whether she's going through a divorce or not, if she's in perimenopause, we all mostly feel the same. So don't worry. I got you, and every other sister in this phase of life has got you because we all get it. And so I'm sitting with that, and I'm not punishing myself, I guess is the right way to say it, for feeling angry some of the time for no reason or seemingly no reason. Holding my boundaries, especially with my kids, I don't feel bad about it. And neither should you. The thing that's funny, and I don't know how many of you know this, but estrogen is one of those kind of like the people pleaser. Progesterone is the calming one, but estrogen is the thing that just keeps you kind of going and, having fucks to give. But when that baby starts to decline, and it's not a drop, but it feels like a drop. But once that estrogen starts to decline through perimenopause and menopause, that's your, when you're like, I have zero fucks to give, that's because of estrogen. And it happens at this stage of life on purpose, right? It's by design. Your kids are probably grown and you've done the lioness's share of the work with your kids and emotionally being there for people, blah, blah, blah. And so when you get to the stage, you're like, I don't give a fuck. And that might read as mean, that might read as bitchy, that might read as crazy, that might read as moody, that might read as you don't care. None of that's true. It reads like boundaries. And so if you've never really held a boundary, it's going to shock some people. And so sitting with that piece as well, going through the divorce, like I have no more fucks to give. I'm not going to placate or make, and that's possibly why I'm being more honest. And not so much that I was lying before, but more open. Let's say not honest, but more open about the marriage now, because I'm done. I'm out now of it, so I'm less worried about, having any kind of, not that he listens to my stuff at all, but I'm done having the being worried about him saying, "Hey, like, why'd you say that about me on the podcast?" Like, again, I'm being as respectful as I feel is necessary. I'm not calling him names or putting him down. I'm just being truthful about my experience in the relationship. But when you hold the boundaries, some people will look at that and be like, "Oh, she's a bitch." No, she's just not taking your shit anymore. And so again, don't be afraid of that. There are people that, like, I'm not the way I am with him as I am with pretty much everybody else. So occasionally, like, if somebody's pushing back, I'll push right back. But, like, I don't know, don't feel badly about holding the boundary and saying, like, no, it's not okay that you never take me on a fucking date, because you're busy. We're all fucking busy. Like, no, it's not okay that you don't put our marriage first. Your marriage should be first. Christians will say God first, then the marriage. I'm not Christian, so I'm not saying it that way, but your marriage should be fucking top priority. Because if the two of you at the top aren't making one another a priority, all the rest of it falls to shit. It's that simple. It's that simple. All the moms out there are like, yeah, but I have to be nope, you do not. Obviously, you're not going to neglect your children, but, like, if your kids are like my age, my kids' age, like, they're all grown. What am if my marriage was, I mean, if it was the priority, we wouldn't be here, obviously, for a number of reasons, but I mean, we probably still would be here because Asperger's is Asperger's. However, I'm just saying, like, you know, um, make it a priority. And if you're feeling like you have to beg for attention or beg for it, like, I don't know what to tell you. Um, but anyway, here we are. I've gone on for long enough. If you've listened this long, I appreciate you. What's next? I have no idea. Maybe I'll start recording when I start dating and, do a series of dating in your 50s. Holy shit. Um, I'm not going to lie, I'm totally nervous, and I've not heard great stories about what's out there in terms of, because you've got a whole school of women who are doing the work, like I'm doing the work on myself, and then we're like, okay, now I'm ready to date. And then you get out there and there's all these fucking guys who are like, work? I don't need to work on myself. She was crazy. I left because she was nuts. Had nothing to do with me. I beg to differ, sir. Probably had a lot to do with you. But that's what I keep hearing is, like, there's this generation of women my age who are out there, done the work, spent a couple of years on themselves fixing what needed to be fixed, healing what needed to be healed. And then they go out into the world and there's no matches, because a lot of guys are looking for younger women. That's another whole thing. Guys my age in their 50s are like looking for 35-year-olds, and I mean, it is what it is. But, and I'm sure there's obviously good men out there, but for right now, we're just not going to even worry about that. For right now, the exercise is to work on my shit. So if this was helpful, I appreciate it. If you would do a quick review on Apple Music or Spotify or wherever you're listening, it does help. I think at some point, I don't know how this is going to shift, but I would love to get this podcast out there way more than it has been so far. So that's it for me. Thanks for listening to my long-winded update, and I hope this finds you feeling a little better after you listen to this, because you deserve to. We all do. All right. I love you so much. Talk to you next time.